everybody. Welcome to the Angel Research Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Stutman, and this is a show where we interview stock market experts, investing gurus, if you will, and we pick their brains to get their insights on the market, strategies, and things of that nature. Today we have a very special guest, and that is Mr. Brian Hicks, who is the founder and owner of Angel Publishing. And Brian's going to give us some detail today about the investment newsletter business, where he sees the industry going, how he got started. But before we bring Brian into the conversation, we're going to do a quick disclaimer. Nothing that we say here today is meant to be taken as individual or personalized financial advice. I think as we're probably going to delve into this a little bit deeper in this conversation today, but one of the core philosophies, mission statements at Angel is to give you as a listener, as an audience member, the insights and the ideas, the information that you need to make the best financial decisions for yourself. We can't make these decisions for you, but we can empower you with the ideas and the information. So with all that out of the way, Brian, welcome to the conversation. How are you doing today?
Pretty well. Thank you so much.
It is. I would say it's an honor to have you here, partially because it is, and partially because you pay my paycheck, so I have to be real nice to you. No, that's not true. I'll speak my mind here. I think a good place to start is probably, the very beginning, from when you first entered the financial publishing industry, and then maybe bring us to where you are today. You started from scratch, and then you have a multi-million-dollar company. So you can start from there.
Sure. I started in this industry in 1994. I was just getting out of graduate school.
I was only 6 years old.
Right. It seems so long ago. So it's about almost 30 years ago I've been in this business, and I started at probably maybe the biggest financial newsletter company right now, which is Agora. And when I started in 94, I spent a full year with Bill Bonner learning the industry inside and out and just picking his brain. And for me, it was an epiphany. Coming out of grad school and going into something like an Agora, it was an epiphany. I didn't realize a company like that could actually exist in America, but it did. I spent 10 years at Agora learning everything I could about finance, investments, and more importantly, how to actually write and market. And I basically gave myself bachelor degrees in all those fields. But by the time 2003 came around, I had to become a big fish in a small pond, and I was looking for other ways to, grow. And so that's when I decided to leave Agora and start Angel Publishing.
Could you give us some more detail about what the newsletter business was like back then? Because I think it has evolved over time. Maybe you could give us some perspective about how it has changed and maybe how even you personally have helped the industry evolve.
Sure. In 94, newsletters were delivered by the mail, by physical mail. We didn't have the internet was just starting to emerge. And so everything was done by mail. And promos were done by mail, direct mail. And in order to get a subscriber, a reader to your service, you send them a direct mail piece. And the rule then was you had 3 seconds of when that person opened the mailbox, took out that letter, saw maybe copy on that envelope, and you had 3 seconds to convince them to open that envelope, or they would toss it in the trash.
Sure. And when you say copy, you're talking about basically the framing of a specific investment idea in a way that is going to get a reader's attention and kind of explain to them the importance of whatever that idea is.
Right. A core message of what it was. And Back then, we were considered and we still are considered, but we really were considered the alternative media back then. I mean, there was no podcasts or blogs or anything of that nature. We were still anti-Main Street media, and we offered messages, whether it was about travel, culture, or more importantly, investments, that you would not find anywhere else You wouldn't find it on Wall Street. You wouldn't find it in the mainstream media. You came to us to find unconventional investment ideas.
What about the investment newsletter industry, or Angel in particular, allows you to do that in terms of not being, beholden to advertisers or anything like that? Can you speak maybe to what makes investment newsletters unique as opposed to something like the Wall Street Journal?
Sure. For one, we are fiercely independent. Okay, we don't have agreements or contracts with mutual funds or money managers or anything of that nature. We gain readership by the veracity of our ideas, and we can speak our minds. Okay, even people even journalists on the Wall Street Journal and mainstream financial publications like Barron's, they really can't speak their minds like we can. We can say things they can't. For many factors. But a lot of times, the ideas that we present to our readers seem outlandish at the time, and I like to say that a lot of times we're ahead of the curve, and sometimes way too ahead of the curve.
Sure.
And so that's what makes us completely different and valuable to people who read us.
Okay, could you speak a little bit? Excuse me. Can you speak a little bit to how a customer should use a financial newsletter? What they can expect from a financial newsletter?
Sure. Well, what they can expect is unvarnished truth about what that particular editor sees in the markets. Okay, and a good way to explain our bullpen of newsletters is to use an analogy. And the analogy I like to use is an NFL football team. Okay, the entire team plays football, but each player plays a specific position. You have offense and defense. And on the offensive side, you have the offensive line, you have the quarterback, you have the running backs, you have wide receivers. On the defensive side, you have the defensive line, you have the linebackers, you have the cornerbacks, you have the safeties. And each of those positions, each of them has a coach. So, a Tom Brady has a quarterback coach. The offensive line has a offensive line coach. So even though they're playing the game of football, each player is specialized in their particular field. And that is how you should view Angel Publishing and our newsletters. We all want to make money in the stock market, but each editor is specialized in their particular field of knowledge. And as a reader, you can pick and choose what you want to it's almost like a menu.
Yeah.
Like when you go to a restaurant, you're not going to eat the entire menu. You're going to select parts of that menu that appeal to you.
So on that topic of knowledge, that there's an interview with Peter Lynch back in the 90s. I don't have the exact quote, but Peter is excuse me. He is talking about how people will spend hours researching the best microwave to buy. They'll check Consumer Reports. They'll ask their friends. They want to make sure with material purchases that they have they're making the best purchase possible. But when it comes to stocks, most people don't actually take the time to figure out what they're buying. They kind of just throw their money to a financial advisor. Could you speak to maybe why that is and why people, maybe feel like they can't do that research themselves, or why they're not taking the initiative to do it?
I think a lot of people are very intimidated by it. I think they're intimidated by, I think they've been fed a line that only the experts on Wall Street or a big name money manager can actually help them grow their wealth. It's not true. It's not. I consider the financial health of every person to be as vital, as important as your health, your physical health. Okay? A person might go to a doctor or a personal trainer to help them get healthy, but it's up to that individual person to actually do the legwork. And that's how I see our editors. Our editors, we're experts in our field, but we're here to help you help yourself. Okay? We can give you the material, we can give you the information, we can give you advice, but it's up to you as the individual to actually act on it.
And would you say that part of what you do is, or what the company does and what our newsletters are for, is to kind of simplify that information and to make it easier for people to digest?
Sure. You have to remember that the professional investment community, and I'm talking about Wall Street stockbrokers, managers, they're very heavily regulated. I mean, super regulated, and so there are things they can and cannot say. We can pretty much say anything.
What about investments? Are there investments that they can or not? Like, are they basically motivated to give you a specific kind of investment, or are you going to hear about the same stocks from your financial advisor that you would hear from Angel Publishing, or is there a difference?
Yeah, you're definitely going to hear about different stocks from us. A big investment firm, usually when they pitch you a stock, okay, it's usually because they have in their file a huge inventory of that stock. They own that stock, okay? And when they're trying to convince you to buy, let's say, IBM, it's because they have an inventory of IBM stock they want to unload, and they're going to unload it to you, okay? We don't do that. We don't have an inventory of stocks. All we do is we look at the world, we look at the markets, we go from up, down, bottom up evaluation of the markets, and we'd like to take a satellite view of it and see where are those pockets that maybe Wall Street's not looking at. That's what we serve. A need that's not being served by Wall Street. Stocks that they won't touch. It's not because they're bad investments. It's because they can't make millions of dollars in commissions and fees on them because they're not big enough.
So what do you say to the average investor who isn't thinking too much about individual stocks, and they say, I'm just going to throw my money into an ETF and be on par with the market?
Well, that's a good question, and that's a good analogy too. I like to use that analogy as well. Most golfers, most golfers are trying to beat par. Okay, that's the standard. That's the baseline. Okay. And so there's this assumption out there in the stock market that you can't beat the indexes. Well, that's bullshit. You can beat the indexes, and really good, insightful investors do it all the time. Just like a Tiger Woods or a Phil Mickelson beat par all the time. Okay, you can beat the markets, and so throwing yourself into an ETF, it's a safety. It's a safety.
Yeah, and I think we could assume that the people that are pushing that idea that you can't possibly beat the ETF, you can't beat the market, those are probably the people that are motivated they want you to buy that ETF because they're benefiting from it in some way.
Of course. I mean, it's almost saying, Jason, you follow me. You can't beat the market. Just come with me and we'll play the market together, because there's no way you can beat that. Well, that's bullshit. But you can.
So beating the market, if you're going to do it, obviously you're going to need a lot of information, a lot of details. You can't just roll the dice. You probably are going to actually, the market's going to beat you in that case. So Angel Publishing has a ton of different newsletters. You guys have newsletters that are covering the tech industry, connecting Main Street investors with private pre-IPO investing and Reg A deals. There are newsletters that track FDA decisions so that you could see when biotech stocks are about to move. You have services that track insider trading, microcap stocks, a huge breadth. Like you were talking about the football team that has, everyone has a specialized position with a specialized coach. Sure. But we're going to focus today on kind of the more of the bread and butter publications that you have that are completely free of charge, that investors can just get, useful insights and perspectives on the market. And you have 3 of those letters: Wealth Daily, Energy and Capital, and Outsider Club. We're gonna go through each one at a time, and so maybe you could give us a breakdown.
Sure.
So we'll start with Wealth Daily.
Well, Wealth Daily really is our flagship publication, and I don't remember, but we started Wealth Daily either in 2004 or 2005, and it really was, our free daily e-letter to look at the broader markets and just, make sense of what was happening in totality in the markets. We cover everything in that letter. We cover technology. We cover, cryptocurrencies, energy, and everything in between. Okay. Around 2005, we realized that we were doing a disservice by including energy in Wealth Daily. We knew energy could be its own standalone free daily e-letter because it was so huge. Depending on what year it is, energy is the largest sector on the planet. Okay, and so in 2004 and 2005, we were seeing signs that that oil was about to experience a catastrophic spike in prices on a phenomenon called peak oil, which basically means that the world was running out of easy to get, cheap oil. It didn't mean we were running out of oil. It just means the next generation of oil was going to be harder to get and more expensive to get, and that had ramifications for the entire energy sector. Okay, so if you have, and we were predicting oil was going to go to $150 a barrel, in 2008 it did. Okay, so when the price of oil rises that dramatically in such a short period of time, there are peripheral markets that are going to be spun off, and there's going to be investment capital going to those markets, and those markets were renewable energy. Okay, so we were one of the first ones to really hang our hats on renewable energy, and really just take the bull by the horns on that. And we started a letter called Green Chip Stocks that was based on that whole premise, was that the world was going to be transitioning into renewable energy. And we were one of the first ones to get into solar energy, wind energy, geothermal, but that's also energy.
Yeah, so I think it all makes sense because energy is something we always need it. It's not something like I don't know, maybe certain tech stocks or social media company or something that maybe big one decade and then kind of fades out the other. But energy is always going to be around, so I think it makes sense that you would have a dedicated resource specifically for energy and everything related to it. Let's move on to the third. So we had Wealth Daily, we had Energy and Capital, and the third is Outsider Club. Could you give us an idea of what Outsider Club is more representative of?
Sure. Outsider Club is truly our pure contrarian, libertarian letter. It really is a letter that really bucks the trend of the mainstream and of Wall Street, and those are that's the letter where we really outline our really big predictions, macro predictions. Going forward, and that's where if you're looking for ideas that you're really never going to hear about anywhere else, that's the letter you want to sign up for, because that's where we really make our really sort of alarming predictions about where the market's going, where the global economy is going, and where basically society is going.
Okay, so you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like Outsider Club is more of a philosophical letter that kind of speaks to the free thinking investor. Energy and Capital is more for kind of the fuel and lifeblood of the economy, and then Wealth Daily is more of a foundational letter that touches all aspects of investing.
Yeah, and each letter complements each letter. You should be reading all three and not just one of those letters, because they all complement and they all represent what I call the angel way. Okay, it's our philosophy of investments, how to invest, and how we see the world, how we see the economy, and how we see society evolving.
All right, we're gonna wrap up soon, but one last question for you. Is there anything that the audience or members of Angel should be excited about in the future, or is there, maybe you can reflect a little bit on what you see as the future of our industry and how it may grow and improve?
I still say we remain true to our roots and to our foundation, and that is being alternative media, independent thinkers, not beholden to anybody, but having the ability to speak our minds. I'm a free speech absolutist, okay? And some of the things I see being talked about on a global elitist scale, on a national government scale, especially in Western nations, scares the hell out of me, okay? And true to form, we are going to help our readers navigate those chaotic waters going forward, because I see a lot of chaos. Right now, we're currently in chaos. I call it the age of instability. Governments and global elitists are talking about a cashless society. Central banks around the world are talking about developing and launching their own cryptocurrencies. This has one goal in mind for them, and that is absolute, total control of the population.
Well, it definitely feels like things are way more uncertain today than they've been in a long time. We just went through a 20-year bull market, and things are definitely a little bit crazy, but that is kind of the purpose of all of these newsletters and Angel Publishing in general, is to help people make sense of all of that chaos. So, Brian, thanks for coming in today. Everybody else who's watching, check the links below if you want to if you want to sign up to Wealth Daily, Energy and Capital, Outsider Club, or any of Angel Publishing's premium newsletters. The first three that we mentioned are completely free. It's we often say it's the best free investment that you will ever make. And other than that, like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.